Hello, everyone. I am a former forensic officer and have served as a police officer in the United States for many years. Today, I want to share with you an inexplicable event I experienced during my career, one that defies scientific explanation. By the way, this story is based on my old diary and has been arranged by my two grandchildren. I am truly grateful to them. During my time as a forensic officer, I encountered a terrifying incident. This event is still vividly etched in my memory. It happened when I was still young and faced a spiritual phenomenon for the first time. Through this story, I hope you can feel the same fear that I did. Now, let's begin. I experienced this terrifying incident about 20 years ago. One night, our forensic team was tasked with investigating a murder scene at an old abandoned house on the outskirts of town. This house was known locally as the haunted house, and there were many rumors of strange occurrences reported there. However, we were professional police officers. We didn't let such rumors distract us and headed to the scene calmly. When we arrived at the scene, there was an indescribably eerie atmosphere. The house had been abandoned for decades. The walls were crumbling, the windows were broken, and vegetation had overgrown. Our forensic team began by photographing the scene and collecting fingerprints and footprints. However, as we proceeded with our work, strange events started to occur one after another. First, as I was taking pictures in one corner of the house, my camera suddenly stopped working. The battery was supposed to be fully charged, but it seemed as if something was interfering with it. Additionally, when my colleague was collecting blood samples, his hand suddenly started to shake, and he dropped the sample container. He murmured, "Did someone just touch me?" And we all felt a moment of tension. We paused for a moment and then resumed our work.
As I was picking up the blood sample container from the floor,
I heard a faint voice coming from the back of the house. It sounded like a woman sobbing. I asked my colleague, "Do you hear that?" And he replied, "Yeah, I hear it." We exchanged glances for a moment but decided to continue our investigation. Next, we decided to check the basement of the house. We descended the stairs, relying only on the light from our flashlights. The basement was dark and covered in a thick layer of dust, indicating that no one had been there for a long time. However, as I moved forward with my flashlight, I found fresh footprints. They were barefoot prints, as if someone had recently been there. Following the footprints, we found an old wooden door at the back of the basement. As I reached out to open the door, a sudden chill ran through my body, as if a cold wind had blown in from the basement. My colleague also remarked, "What's with this cold?" But we decided to open the door. Inside, we found a small room filled with old furniture and a dusty diary. We decided to open the diary. It seemed to belong to a family that had once lived in this house. The last page had the words, "Help me," scrawled in a frantic manner. Seeing that, we felt a chill run down our spines. Additionally, in the corner of the room, we found an old photo frame containing a family photo. However, disturbingly, all the faces in the photo were blacked out. As we were examining the diary and the photo frame, we suddenly felt a strong gaze on our backs. My colleague shouted, "Is someone there?" But of course, there was no reply. We cautiously decided to leave the room. But just then, we heard heavy, slow footsteps coming from the basement stairs, clearly heading towards us. We exchanged glances and cautiously approached the stairs. The footsteps grew louder, and we realized they were getting closer. To the top of the stairs, shining our flashlights on the stairs, we saw a shadow flickering in the space where no one should have been. My colleague murmured, "What is that?" And at that moment, the shadow disappeared, and the footsteps stopped. We were momentarily speechless, but managed to keep our cool and continued our investigation. As we resumed our investigation, my colleague began to act strangely. He frequently glanced around and muttered, "Something's here," several times. Then suddenly, he exclaimed, "I can't stay here any longer," and ran out of the basement. I immediately followed him, but when I got outside the house, he was nowhere to be seen. It was as if he had vanished without a trace. Left alone, I decided to return to the house. I still hadn't gathered all the evidence. However, when I returned alone, the eerie atmosphere was even more intense than before. Trembling with fear, I headed back to the basement. As soon as I opened the basement door, everything went black, and I felt as if I were being pulled into something. When I regained consciousness, I was still in the basement, but it felt as if time had stopped. Everything was shrouded in complete darkness, and my flashlight was nowhere to be found. Groping around, I tried to find an exit, but a sudden cold wind blew from behind me. That wind seemed to carry whispers. I listened closely and realized it was a woman's voice pleading for help. "Help me! Get me out of here!" The voice grew louder and more urgent. Desperately, I moved through the darkness, trying to find the source of the voice. But it echoed from all directions, making it impossible to pinpoint. Suddenly, I felt a cold hand touch my back, and I froze in fear. The moment that cold hand touched me, the entire basement was suddenly filled with light. However, the light didn't come from a flashlight, but seemed to emanate from the space itself. In the light, I saw the faint outlines of people. They were the family from the photo in the diary. All of them had sad expressions. One woman stepped forward and seemed to plead with me. I asked her, "What happened here? Please tell me." She slowly began to speak. "We are trapped in this house. Please help us." According to her, she and her family had been killed in this house, and their vengeful spirits still lingered there. As I listened, I desperately tried to think of a way to free them, but couldn't find an answer. Standing there, I thought about how to save them. Then I remembered the words "help me" scrawled on the last page of the diary. Maybe the key to freeing their souls was still hidden somewhere. I carefully examined the diary again, and as I turned the pages, I found a small key attached to the back of the last page. Finding the key, I intuitively felt it belonged to a secret room somewhere in the house. I began searching the house again, looking for hidden doors or secret places. Finally, I discovered a small keyhole in the basement wall. I inserted the key, turned it, and the wall slowly opened, revealing a hidden room. Inside the room were an old altar and several ancient talismans. On the altar were their family photo and what appeared to be their ashes. I immediately understood that this place was the source of the curse trapping them. I carefully removed the talismans, took their ashes, and offered a silent prayer. As I prayed, the room was enveloped in a soft light, like the warmth of the sun. The spirits of the family reappeared, this time with peaceful smiles. They thanked me and slowly disappeared into the light. At that moment, the eerie atmosphere of the house vanished, replaced by peace and quiet. I left the house certain that their souls had been freed. Through this incident, I realized once again that phenomena beyond scientific explanation do exist. Such mysterious events are rare in a police officer's career, but they cannot be ignored. I also learned the importance of kindness and compassion. The lesson from this story is not to dismiss the existence of human grudges or souls, and to offer help to those in need, whether living or deceased. If you encounter strange events, remain calm and respond with kindness. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you have experienced any mysterious events or have advice for my middle school grandchild who helped create this video, please share them in the comments section.